everyone. Welcome back to the It's Really Not That Deep podcast.
It's never that deep.
Why the hell do we put up with so much in relationships? Like, I was reflecting on some of my past relationships and, like, those of my friends and girls I know. And I'm like, wow, the stuff we put up with was chaotic.
And you look back and you're almost embarrassed because you're like, I did that. And I would not allow my friends to do that, but I did that.
I don't feel embarrassed anymore. I'm just like, that poor girl.
Yeah, I'm pretty embarrassed.
At the time, I was embarrassed.
See, I'm more embarrassed now, looking back. I'm like, girl, get a grip.
Like what? I guess we'll unpack.
Yeah, literally. So with that being said, today we're going to be talking about a little bit of being a chaos girly, what that means, being addicted to the chaos, and how to calm your nervous system so maybe we don't get embarrassed like we both are right now. Actually, just me right now.
We're also going to talk about how, like, the home you grew up in and your attachment style might contribute to this, because that is a big part of it.
Yeah, everything goes back to your childhood. Nature versus nurture, baby.
So what I mean when I say chaos is the emotional turmoil and dysregulation that was going on in me and the amount that I abandoned myself for the sake of someone else in the relationship I was in. That's chaotic.
That is chaotic. And
Chaotic?
Chaotic. Yeah, it is chaotic. Chaotic? I know it's chaotic.
Oh, okay.
No, I know. Jeez.
Am I being gaslit?
For me, I feel like my mind is 100% of the time chaotic. So if something is not, like, reaching to a higher point of chaos, I find myself bored or, like, uninterested, ready to move on. So I'm, like, used to that chaos, which is not a really good thing.
This reminds me of how you, like, can't function, or you can function so well on little sleep.
Yeah.
Like, that screams chaotic to me.
Yeah, that is crazy. I didn't realize that people couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I thought everyone can.
Certainly not me.
Most of you guys couldn't when we were away.
Yeah, why should we?
Yeah.
It's good to be rested and regulated.
I thought you were going to say something else there, but now I can't remember what it was.
Okay. Well, if it comes back, try to wait till the end of a sentence.
That's the problem. I also can't not interrupt. Just like, boom, boom.
Whatever. It keeps us flowing. Okay. Something I never really understood about me specifically was that, like, I did come from a very calm upbringing, and I was raised to be very calm, and I always have been. So it felt so not right that, like, this is the way I was acting. And I still don't fully understand that piece.
So this is a time where I don't want to say no. So I'm going to say yes and, even though it has nothing to do with the sentence. Okay. Yeah, you are very calm, and, like, your parents are very calm. I don't know if you're going to want to put this in.
That's fine.
But you never really had, like, a stable, like, what's the word? Like a prototype of, like, a stable, healthy relationship.
But I did.
Yeah?
I did for a lot of years. And in the formative years, unfortunately, that went south. Yeah, I guess it makes sense. But, like...
And you all were very suppressive.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't talk about anything for years.
Well, it was, like, kind of explained as a secret to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not your fault at all. And, like, wasn't fair to you. But whatever the circumstance is, it kind of does make sense why you'd, like, seek chaos. Because that was kind of what you saw and what you were used to.
Facts. Yeah, so, like, that's where it's like, oh, like, it's so weird. I don't know where that came from. Like, you always know. Yeah. You always know what's going on deep down. It's just whether you choose to acknowledge it, which is why acknowledgement is always the first step.
Yeah, 80% of the work is booking the appointment.
Yeah. That's a good analogy.
My professor. Yeah.
Slay.
But yeah, it's really hard to, I feel like once you allow yourself to relate to past things, you have to go through a level of anger and resentment before you can accept it and move on. And that is so hard to do. It is so hard to put yourself through that. So most of the time we don't.
So we know I love brain and rewiring, and the brain wires itself based on what it experiences a lot. And nothing changes if nothing changes. Like, I have literally had to start from zero, how to be calm, how to regulate your nervous system, and with my therapist, her telling me about it, to rewire my brain and learn something different than the chaos.
Yeah, I've gotten really good at interrupting my thoughts.
Amazing. What does that mean to you?
I think it's a lot at nighttime when I'm just like doom scrolling and I go from one app to the other and I'm like, eventually I'll stop myself and I'm just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, literally, what are you doing, Haley? Like, clearly you're not happy right now. Like, shocking. So then I have to put my phone away, I read, I distract myself, and I'm all better after.
And that is all you can do.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing.
And sometimes you don't need to acknowledge what it is that you're feeling, I think. I think even, like, I think doom scrolling is, like, the worst thing ever. But even just distracting yourself with, like, a healthier hobby, I think is totally okay.
Yes!
Yeah.
I always, even watching TV. Watching TV is better than scrolling. But I'm a sucker for hobbies, and I actually am reading a book.
Is it a educational book?
Yeah, it is.
What
I
is
think
it?
that's just my shit.
That's okay.
It's called The Defining Decade, and boy, is it good.
I really want you to read the holistic psychology book.
Oh, done.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Send
I
me
don't
the
have
name.
it, but I'll
get
find it. Yeah.
And I'm going to try to read a lot on my travels, so...
We'll see how that goes.
Well, like, I have a hella travels, like, sitting on planes
I
and
see.
buses. Yeah. I'm moving every 3 days.
Woo!
That's why we're backpacking.
Hashtag chaos.
No, literally chaos. But
It will be amazing.
experiential chaos.
Yeah. Just to go back to our childhood a little bit and our home environment. So I read this thing somewhere, I saw something, and they basically talked about, if you can imagine, I don't know if your, like, mom worked from home or whatever, but if you could imagine, like, your mom or your dad coming home from wherever they were, and if you, like, immediately know, like, their mood based on how they walk in the door, like, that feeling is basically, like, this chaos. This is where this chaos ensues.
I just, like, felt that in my body.
Yeah.
It's so real. You feel other people's energies so deeply.
Yeah.
And you just learn to expect the worst.
Yeah, sometimes, like, you're walking on eggshells, especially if you have a family member or parents who don't get along, who fight if you live in the same house, a family member or sibling who's going through something themselves, or you are going through the thing. Like, there's always some kind of dynamic in a family that creates this chaos, and it's what kind of makes you hibernate into this craziness.
Yeah. And I'm reading this book about your 20s, and it's talking about how, like, 20s is the foundation for the rest of your life. And, like, that's always been something that's so important to me, like, to not shed that energy, especially onto my kids. And, like, obviously, shit happens, But I want to regulate my emotions and my nervous system as much as I can to avoid that.
Yeah. It's so weird how, like, someone can impact you so much and they are, like, so living their own life.
Yeah. It is.
And, like, they're going through their own shit still. And yet they really affect you.
Example.
Okay. So, for example, my mom. I've always been really close with her, but I think for a long time I resented some of the things she did because she had to have a lot of... I'm, like, really trying to say this properly. She had to have a lot of care and attention towards something else. So I think that because all her attention was there, I kind of got some, like, the not the short end of the stick, but, like, the backlash of that.
Yeah.
And, like, having to live through the same thing she was and seeing how she handled it. Like, I'm not saying this right.
I think you are.
Yeah?
I'm getting it.
Okay. Like, seeing how, or remembering that, like, this is her first life, too. Like, she doesn't know how to handle this. She doesn't know how to do any of this. Like, she's just learning as she's going. And because I couldn't blame the situation, and, like, love my dad, but he's kind of like, what am I blaming him for,
Yeah.
So, like, I put the blame on her, and I resented that, and it took a long time for me to get over that. And honestly, a lot has changed. I think also just a mother and daughter's relationship definitely goes through, like, waves. She always says, like, my boys would never talk to me the way that you do. And I'm like, yeah, but of course I do.
Yeah, it's just so different.
It's so different.
Wow. So still living at home, like you said, things have changed a lot. How does this currently affect you?
Well, one time, and my family loves to remind me that I did this, which is just so nice of them.
Of course.
I was really going through it, and this is when I was just figuring all this out in therapy. So, like, the resentment was at its peak. I was unhappy. Like, I was so angry all the time with everyone in my family.
Yeah.
And I was just be like, this is such a toxic place, like, blah, blah, blah. And I had, like, a major breakdown. And they thought it was, my brothers will make fun of me for anything. So they thought it was hilarious that I said that. I'm like, this is just making it worse, guys. So since then, I remember in first year and second year, too, I preferred to be at school for some of the time because I just found it was calmer. I think my relationships have really gotten stronger over the years. I think distance does make the heart grow fonder in a lot of ways. Being at home now, I think my mom has learned a lot. I think I've learned a lot and I've matured a lot. I'm a lot older. And I think my brother has as well. And my dad's, like, always such a dad. And Cody moved out by.
True.
Yeah.
Damn.
So it's a lot more calm, and, like, she's a lot more calm. So, like, it makes everyone more calm. And I'm a lot more confident and comfortable to kind of talk back to her in some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. And looking back, like, she, honestly, even when in my, like, we one day looked through all my old memories from, like, elementary school and everything, and I always said, like, my role model was my mom, and I always looked up to her, and I always wanted to be like her, and blah, blah, blah. Once I said, I love my mom because of this. I love my dad my brothers because of this. And I said, I love my dad because he can clean my teeth. He was really upset about that.
Shame.
So now that we know where our chaos stems from and the family background that causes this inner turmoil within you, now let's talk about how this chaos presents itself in other areas of our life, more specifically maybe relationship, friendships, romantic relationships, all the above.
So a lot of times in young relationships, you don't really know how you're supposed to be treated. So you as in me, sweep a lot of things under the rug. And low-key create a trauma bond. And then I kind of found myself, like, becoming anxious because of this person's actions, but then this person was also the person giving me the most comfort, so I would get looped back in. And then the high levels of cortisol, which is the stress hormone, coupled with then the high levels of dopamine, just messed me up.
Yeah, and then it creates a cycle. I think it's super cool, not cool at all actually, but super interesting that we all kind of have this feedback loop of experience that turmoil, but it's often very different in the way it's expressed. Like, you, like, sweep things under the rug. That's kind of what you do. For me, I think I have, like, more, like, if I feel like I'm getting rejected, I will allow a lot more. And I think with the other people, it has different things. And I think it also has to do with your attachment style.
Yeah. It's crazy how many manifestations of issues there are.
Mm-hmm. Crazy enough, your attachment style also comes from your family.
Yeah. What attachment style do you think you are?
I didn't really know until I read your notes. And I go, wow, that is me for sure.
Which one?
Anxious, preoccupied attachment. People who crave closeness but also fear abandonment.
Yeah.
Because I do love connecting with people and, like, craving that, but I also am avoidant in a lot of ways. But once I don't know where I'm going with this.
No, but, like, once you get the first sign of, like, oh, this person might leave me, you're checked out.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be yourself anymore. You're just only focused on trying to please and what can I do to keep them, which I think is a very normal response, especially, like, when you don't really know yourself.
Yeah, and when I was not going through the breakup, but when it was coming. It was time coming. I remember I was in Vancouver visiting my family friends, and I was on the phone with this kid, heaving, like upstairs in my family friend's room, bawling my eyes out, heaving, for I don't even remember why. I just had this idea in my head that like he wasn't giving me the reassurance I needed. I needed him to tell me it was okay, and he wasn't giving me that. So I literally had a breakdown.
Yeah. Well, it's that same idea of letting things build up because you don't really understand them, so you don't really think they're valid. Like, it takes going through relationships and learning about the bullshit you can't handle to know.
Yeah. And I think it's true. You learn a lot about what you don't want rather than what you want.
So true.
I also think it's kind of cool that a lot of the times you could recognize these patterns, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to break them in your next relationship or friendship or whatever it is. It usually takes a few times of the same pattern to be able to break that.
I like that. And I like that because I think of everything as tests. So I think that all those future situations are tests. And it's like, how long are you going to put up with this until you learn your lesson? And you have to really learn the lesson to learn the lesson.
Yeah. I think I trauma bonded / was codependent with 3 different people before I was able to recognize that and stop it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like chilling like a villain.
Yeah, and sometimes you need to see things in different lights, and like it really has to break you.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to break you.
Yeah. When I was making this, I was like, okay, so we're just talking all about the attachment styles. How do you like overcome this? As someone with that attachment style, anxious, preoccupied, is there anything in relationships that like you need?
Communication. I know I need reassurance. I'm kind of the type of person, I'm very intuitive, and this isn't a good thing, but I could feel when someone has the slightest change in their tone or their, like, I notice everything.
Yeah.
And also because of the ADHD, like, my rejection sensitivity is so heightened, so when I'm already feeling that way, I will lose my mind. So I think someone that, one, cares to learn how I feel when that goes through and what I need in that process. Mm-hmm. I think it really just takes someone that's willing to pay attention to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And it's all about the communicating and like rewiring, relearning. You need a safe person to help you learn how to handle this.
Yeah. And not that I think people our age or people in general, but if you do, no shame. Like, need to go to couples therapy. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I was talking to someone, I said they should go, and they were like, but we're, like, not having problems like that. And I'm like, it is so important to learn how you communicate.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, even with my parents sometimes, I'm like, you guys have such different communication issues, and neither of you can recognize each other's.
Yeah.
So until that happens, of course, you're both going to be annoyed because neither of you can see each other's point.
And if you're going to be together for the rest of your life, you may as well invest in therapy.
Right?
Like,
it's great.
Especially before you get married.
Especially if you have benefits.
Yeah, come on, guys.
You're going to regret it. Once you don't have those benefits and you want them, you're like, I should have used them.
You're back on benefits.
Yeah, thank God.
Thank God.
One last thing that I feel like has to be mentioned, because there are just like these buzzwords roaming around town these days, and people keep saying like they're gaslighting me, they're love bombing me, but what does that actually mean, and how does that affect it, and how can you recognize that? So I see here you wrote that with trauma bonds that the body interprets intimacy or chaos as intimacy. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of the root of where these things happen. So if you have an anxious attachment style and if you crave that attention or that validation from someone, then it is such an easy manipulation tactic to shower someone with so much love because that's what they've been lacking, and they will get so drawn to you.
Yeah.
And then once you have them, immediately pull it away. And then once you pull it away, they're craving it and they're dying for that attention again, and then you give them little droplets of that to keep them around just enough.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah, I guess that's the core of love bombing.
And I think like once you have a secure attachment and like you know what this is and can really recognize it and be real enough with yourself to be like, oh, this is what that is, you run the other way.
Yeah, I think it is a lot about being able to recognize it.
Yeah.
And like letting go of that.
Yeah. And like it does feel really good if you're someone who craves attention and someone's giving you all this attention and telling you everything you want to hear. Of course you're going to be like, oh, hey.
Yeah. Something I think as I've gotten older, I've kind of come to terms with. One, it's like you have to gain confidence and love yourself to be able to do this. But two, no guy. Guys are dumb, right? Like, no guy knows anything about you at this point. No one knows enough to even like you this much. If they are showering you with these gifts, with this love, these compliments, they have nothing else to add to the conversation.
Yeah.
That is their way to secure something.
Yeah, and it's just, like, new and exciting, and that's never persistent.
No, and you need to be able to say, I don't need that because I love myself either way.
Mm-hmm. And if you're feeling the highs and lows, like, run.
And if you don't, we've been there.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Just get out while you can, because it's just going to be a whole lot harder later. But growth.
Yeah. Last thing, trust your friends' opinions. It is really hard when you're in the moment to be like, rationally, I know they're right. And a lot of times you do know they're right.
Yeah.
But you have blinders on. You could only see forward. Your friends can see right and left. And they see what's really going on. And usually they are more aware than you because you don't want to be.
Yeah. And with that, like, two things can be true at once. Like, your friends' opinions can be right, and you cannot be ready to leave the situation.
100%.
And that is fine.
And as a friend, like, you also have to accept that it's not up to you to decide for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something you said earlier is if someone's not, like, exciting and maybe, like, a little bit chaotic, you do get bored. I think we need to reframe this bored into something else. Because if you're really with a person that is regulated and normal, it doesn't feel boring. Like, those people can still be funny, they can be flirty, they can be cute, they can be whatever your standards are and want. But that's just a very limiting belief.
I agree, and I think over the last, like, year or few months, like, I've really been trying to put that into perspective and, like, really being not picky, but, like, yeah, I guess picky about who I even start talking to, because what's the point if I know this isn't what it's supposed to be? I think I am able to look at things a little differently now. I think I do need someone that's exciting and fun and wants to do all these things, and I think that's partly ADHD, partly just because I'm crazy. Like, I just you like
to have fun.
Yeah. And I think that I'll meet my match and it'll be normal and it will all be okay in the end.
Yeah, I think so too. But you have to be ready to accept that is the point, and you have to, like, be regulated to accept a regulated person. If you're chaotic, you attract what you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're going to play a game, and it's called Chaos or Chemistry. We're going to read a bunch of scenarios, and we're going to decide, honey, do you need to take a chill pill, or maybe that is really love?
Constantly anxious when they don't text back, but when they do, it feels euphoric.
Chaos.
Major chaos. That is exactly what we talked about, the dopamine spikes and the get out of there.
That's when you have to learn, like, that's when you have to train yourself to get off your phone.
Exactly. Read a damn book.
Yeah, books are great, guys. Oh, I love
books
reading.
Books are great. Then you can get hotter and smarter and better than them while they're not responding to your text.
And all of a sudden it's been 2 hours and you've immersed yourself in a new world.
You have a whole new perspective on life.
Yeah.
Okay. They're emotionally unavailable, but the conversations feel so deep at 2 a.m.
I fear chaos major.
I'm asleep. My phone does not get checked after a certain time at night, and I don't care who you are.
See, sometimes I'm like, I'm the toxic one. Because, like, this is probably me.
Well,
say it all.
Can't win them all. You have a strong connection, but there's no drama. You sometimes find yourself picking little fights. Go to therapy.
Okay, so that wasn't me before, but this one is probably me.
Oh, really?
Only because if I am actually that bored, that's the problem. I do get really bored. And if something's too calm, I'm like, something's got to change here.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't be, like, but relationships can get boring.
Yeah, they get comfortable, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
And relationships really shouldn't be so high and low.
Yeah.
They should be stable. And I would find something, if I'm not getting the attention I want, or, like, I can't communicate, I'll pick a little fight or something.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's valid. That's not you picking a fight over nothing. That's, like, there's a lack in the relationship and I need more.
Yeah, but instead of saying that, I'll get upset about the chicken wings we were going to have for dinner.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, but it is chaos.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Okay. You keep breaking up and getting back together, but the pull is magnetic. This is like the worst situation ever. I've major been here.
Yeah, I haven't been here, but that's chaotic.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Yeah.
It's ultimate chaos. Okay.
Next.
They check in on your day, respect your boundaries, and you never feel anxious around them.
You met your match, babe.
Can we get married?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. You trauma bonded over how awful both your exes were, and now you're obsessed with each other. I don't love it.
I don't love it, but I don't hate it. We've trauma bonded over our hates.
Yeah, but we're not trying to date.
I know.
It's weird. I don't like when people talk badly about their ex to me. Like, that just...
I agree in some ways.
Yeah, like, if there's lore, tell me the lore.
Of course, tell me the lore. But if, like, I don't want to hear that your ex was ugly. Like, you dated them. You decided that you liked them enough to do that. But, like, if there's something to say, I think that's different.
It's also, like, if you're talking about the exes so much, like, what is your life?
Yeah.
I back a little conversation. Whatever. Yeah, that's enough.
I think talking about someone's ex, you can learn a lot about them.
I agree. You can learn about how they handled situations, which is very important.
And, like, what got them to be this way.
What you focus on expands, and you attract what you are. So if you're used to feeling chaos, that is what you're going to continue to get in your friendships, relationships, everywhere. You need to reteach yourself what feeling calm feels like and know that that's what you deserve.
And it takes going through these different relationships and these different experiences to be able to break that habit. So don't beat yourself up if you're not there.
And a whole lot of therapy.
A whole lot of therapy.
Yeah.
And talk about your childhood, guys.
Yeah, and you have to get so real with yourself where it's like an ego death almost. You're not you anymore.
The worst thing in therapy is when they're like, but why? And you know it's on the tip of your tongue, but you can't speak it into existence.
Yeah.
Speak it into existence.
Yeah. Well, we hope you guys liked this episode. I feel like we might have trauma dumped a little bit, but like
Who are we if we don't?
We love you guys. We'll see you next time.
Love ya.